Hi, I'm Em of M Doodles and Stuff. I do influencer baby name predictions on TikTok, and I do baby name consultations. And this channel is where I talk about anything else for as long as I want. Sometimes it's really thorough and planned. Sometimes it's just jumping all over the place. And this is not a beauty routine in the slightest. My scalp is just really hot. It was over the past few weeks, it felt like it was getting itchier and itchier, so I reached out to a friend of mine who had scalp issues, and she said she had to start making sure she blow dried her hair every day. Because think about it, when your scalp is wet and the hair is covering it, it's now wet and dark. And when it's like summertime, warm, or you're just like a sweaty person, it's also warm. So what happens when something is dark, damp, and warm? Yuck. Like, we're talking like fungi can happen. I don't know if that happened to me. I just know it's been so itchy that I have had the desire to take a fork to it. Like that. Oh, wait, does that look weird? Yay. The idea of taking a fork to my scalp sounded so good. And that's what told me maybe something was wrong. So I've been blow drying my hair every day, but it's so hot that I tried my best, and I was just drenched in sweat from blow drying my hair, which the whole point of blow drying my hair is that my scalp is not wet, and now it's just getting wet with sweat rather than clean shower water. So I put it up in these because if you have long hair or just like any length of, standard girl hair, there's so many parts of your scalp that never touch the air. Think about it. Like your part gets a nice little glimpse at the blue sky, but so many other parts don't. So I put it up in the rollers, and then I put the blow dryer on all the way cold air, and then just sat there and blew the cold air around my scalp. Oh, it felt so good. It felt so good. And then as soon as I stopped, I felt sweaty again. So I'm just going to leave this in for an unknown amount of time to see what happens. I don't really have anything in particular to talk about. Well, yes, I do, but none of it's important, which is kind of the name of the game here. But the reason that I finally felt motivated to turn this on was because I haven't done a YouTube video in a long time, and 2 days ago, someone left a really nice comment on my most recent Doodle Talk, the one about potato bodies, and it was so nice to read, especially because that post is like relatively old. So I was like, oh, someone's still here, like finding it. That's so nice. Here's Payla Debret. I'm not sure what part of that is your first name or your last name, or if that's none of that is your real name. But username Payla Debret said, "This channel is literally the most relaxing, cozy, amazing one in existence to me. I read another comment somewhere saying that it gave their brain the best scratches. Yes, that exactly. It feels like listening to my own brain in a good way. I am and have always been obsessed with names and have always made huge leaps, connections, and webs of information based on small clues and big vibes." What a good sentence. Just thank you for creating this channel, and never stop telling me to fold my laundry or do a craft while listening, because the mere suggestion is freakishly comfy and cozy. That's so nice. Are you doing your laundry or a craft? Because as I would like to point out in every video beginning, you don't need to be watching the screen as I'm talking. You should be multitasking. You should be crafting laundry, dishes, dusting. I haven't dusted in a real long time. But that was the nicest thing, and just hearing that now, I was like, yeah, why haven't I recorded? And the answer to that is because I have so many grand ideas of really thorough things to talk about and I want to, you know, make it all perfect. And then I just never make time for that because there's so many other things to do. And I'm like, I should just wing it. I should just chat, just like chat. And then I feel underprepared to just chat. And it's this whole ordeal. But I'm here with some items around me. First thing we need to do is we go over the doodle prompt from last time, which was that potato body discussion. And the doodle prompt was to the effect of draw a picture of yourself in the traditional garb of one of your ancestors. Choose an avenue of your heritage and think about what your ancestors would have worn. And then imagine yourself wearing it. I love doing that. I do that in my spare time. Now, here's the thing. When did I make that video? Months ago, right? It has led to this funny little chain of things happening that all connect to that. Because the whole potato body thing was connecting to like Irish peasant ancestry was a big part of it. Okay, so I really got thinking about my Irish and Scottish heritage side. I know it's like kind of a faux pas to lump Irish and Scottish together, but I don't totally understand. I got thinking about it. I did do a doodle. Well, actually, I started a few. We'll get into it. I didn't even add the face. My goodness. Okay, so this was just like a little watercolor I did. Here's what I learned. When you look up Irish and Scottish garb, it feels like it's, because I grew up in Connecticut, where, I don't know, it felt like everyone was either Irish, Italian, or Greek. Everyone I grew up with was Irish, Italian, or Greek, or a combination of all three. And I feel like there was really big St. Patrick's Day celebrations, bigger than I've ever seen in any other place I've lived. I mean, Chicago kind of does have a chokehold on that, but other than Chicago, the Northeast area, like I feel like surrounding New York, at least in my mind, still has a higher condensed population of immigrants from Ireland and Scotland or their descendants, going back to like Ellis Island days, but I could just be perceiving that, and maybe that's not actually true at all. I just feel like we've really Americanized Irish and Scottish heritage. Does that make sense? Like the same way pizza is more American than Italian, I feel like the depictions of leprechauns and Scottish and Irish stuff in the media and in these holidays is very Americanized. And so the problem is when I try to imagine the traditional clothing, I think of the kilt, but like in a very whitewashed is not the right word, American washed sense of it. And I don't think that's traditional at all. I think we've really kind of changed it. This leads me to my next Google of like more historic, like actual historical images and illustrations of historical clothing from Ireland and Scotland, which then led me to finding pictures of Outlander. And I was like, wait, did they really dress like that? And then I went to other photos, and really what it came down to is the women wore a lot of like big blanket stuff. Just like being wrapped in a giant blanket that kind of was also a skirt and sleeves, but like could go over your head. So it was like down, but it could go over. That was what I learned. And that's kind of in Outlander as well. So that was a fun thing to learn. It was hard to draw all the drapey blanket stuff. This isn't even done, but here's the thing. Then I got fixated on Outlander because I've never watched it and I've always thought about watching it. And it really got stuck in my head. Like, I think I want to watch Outlander. Talked to my husband. I said, do you want to watch Outlander together? And he said, sure. And so we began Outlander, and he had so many questions while we watched. And they were questions that did not make any sense to me. He was asking, so does every season she travels to a different time in history? I was like, no. What? No. Like, she's not going to go to ancient Egypt in season 2. No, that's not how it works. And he was saying the plot felt slow. Mind you, this is just like the beginning of season 1. Come to find out, he had no idea it was based on a romance novel. He was thinking it was primarily about time travel. So for him, the little inch by inch buildup of romantic tension just felt like, okay, come on, get to the point. Where's the plot? But actually, that is the plot. So he ditched out, and now I'm watching it slowly on my own. From there, pause, put a pin in the Outlander thing. Oh, by the way, though, I am loving learning about the history. Like, I know the romance thing or the action or just the plot and the characters is like primarily what drives viewers to be interested. But I love a niche story into a specific part of history, especially when it's based vaguely mostly on true events, because I'm learning. Like, I didn't know this stuff. Did you? Like, the clans? And like that Scotland worked under a clan system until the end of the 1800s, because then England got involved. Oh, they always do. I didn't know that. So I love learning things. Pin has been put in this. Now, I went on a girls' trip. We went to one of those little like gem stores. I love a little gem. I actually have one right here to fiddle with. This isn't, I don't know, it's just like a smooth stone. But I just like to hold it and spin it, like a fidget spinner. And there was a tarot card reader there. And my friend said, okay, I'm paying. We're all doing it. So we go into this little back room with this very old woman named Ida. There was even a little plaque with a gnome on it that said Ida. Ida, turns out, we didn't know this in advance, it was a tarot card reading / she was a medium. So for each of us, she connected with an ancestor. And I went last, and the whole time I was like, oh, I know, if I could pick, I know who I'd want to connect with. It'd be my grandma on my dad's side. And so, you know, I don't know what I believe when it comes to the world of mediums and tarot and spirituality and mysticism. I don't know. Truly, I don't know what I believe. But I know that the questions she asked, I was like, oh yeah, that's my grandma. Because she said, like, I see someone who looks like you. Is there any person in your family that you've ever been told you look like? And I was like, well, my grandma, people would say we had the exact same build, potato body. And that when I took my Ancestry DNA test, my mom had responded, oh, wow, there's a lot more of Nana in you than I expected. Like her percentage of like my Scottish percentage was higher than it could have been. So there was more of Nana's side than the other side. And then Ida was like, does the letter S mean anything? And I said, well, that's my grandma on my dad's side, and that's my maiden name, which starts with S. And she said, does the number 5 mean anything? And I said, well, my dad is the first of her 5 sons. And then she said, does the color green mean anything? And I said, well, her maiden name was Kelly, and she was very Irish, like Irish, Scottish, like from Boston, like that. Boston, that's a place where St. Patty's is taken seriously. Yeah, like that grandma was like the very Irish, Scottish side. One of them was like, she was basically took a pause from her spiritual reading and told me that I should go to Ireland. Not because she was being like spiritually prompted to tell me that. She just recently went on a trip there herself and she really liked it. And she was like, you should go. you should go. It would be a really good time. And I was like, yeah, I should go. Unpin Outlander. My sister, because I told her I was watching it for the first time, she's like, oh, that makes me want to rewatch it. So we could talk about it as we were both watching. And so now she's watching it and I'm watching it and we're texting each other, screenshotting which outfits of Claire that we really like. And then my sister goes to a Renaissance fair. I've never been to one and I think I would like it and I really would want to dress up, but I feel like I need to go with the right person/people and I don't feel like I have that locally for myself at this time. Love the idea though. She went and they went to a booth that was selling kilts and the traditional garb, as I've been saying. And my sister's husband got a kilt and she was telling me that depending on what clan you originate from determines what tartan, the word is tartan. I have to not enunciate that T. It just feels so silly. Tartan. So she asked me, hey, can you figure out what Scottish clan we are connected to? Because I want to know what tartan mine would be. And I was like, drop everything now. I went immediately to the family history charts. I actually immediately was able to find which of our ancestors was most closely connected to the clans because I had already taken so many other family history notes once on a Sunday night where I hadn't taken Adderall that day. When I don't take Adderall during the day, I'm very sleepy. And then once darkness falls, I am alive and I'm ready to thrive. And I end up doing really niche, unnecessary, deep divey type projects at night. Nothing goes on during the day. So one time I was fleshing out our family tree, trying to figure out which chunk of the family was what. And I know exactly which chunk connected to the Irish and Scottish, which was the grandma that I've been talking about. And I was like, let me get my notes. Yes. So then I go in and I look for which ancestor was alive at the same time as the clans. And there's really only one that I could find information about. And the last name there is Morrison. Yeah, that's the clan we are most closely connected to. I was able to text my sister and I was very excited. And then from there, I had been wanting to do a craft project with air dry clay. And I almost immediately got it in my head that I needed to do like European styled tiles, like in, is it Holland or Norway? They're called Delft tiles, but then you'll also see it, I think called, I don't think it's Roman tiles. There's like Spanish tile. There's a lot of places where people have painted tiles. Think about it like being around a fireplace or something. I got in my head, I was like, I need to do little tiles where I paint them and make them connected to Scottish heritage. And then I paint a little one of these type of portraits, but the portrait is specifically of my depiction of that Morrison great grandmother from the clans. You following? This is the really cool thing that I'm backtracking a moment for. Something deeply satisfying is that going from my Nana to that Morrison woman ancestor was a completely direct line up the matriarchal path. Like it was my grandma to her mom 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 is the this. Does that make sense? Which is so much more satisfying than when, sometimes you can connect your history. It's like, well, your dad's father's uncle, the uncle's cousin was married to someone who is the father of Abraham Lincoln's cousin. It's like, I don't know. I think we could all probably say that, honestly. So the fact that it went my grandma to her grandma to her grandma. Yeah, that's directly where it goes to the clan. That's so satisfying. I got air dry clay. It's actually over here. Because I might, we'll get to it. I might play with it. This is just the Crayola kind. This is not an ad, by the way. I would be open to that if they wanted it, though. Air dry clay. Okay, I haven't done the portrait. It's not going to be like this. I think it'll be more of a close-up, but I did do all my tiles and made them on the picture frame. Are you ready? Do you see that? Do you see the vision? I don't think I'm going to keep this green. I think it feels a little bit too much like a chalkboard. But yeah, so you got like clovers, bluebell, what are they called? It's a certain kind of flower that's in Scotland. I did some houses. I did some like tartan style plaid. Like I didn't really think about it much. I just did what I wanted. And I don't know if you can see, but they're shiny because I put the little gloss. Oh, wait, there's the shine down in the bottom corner. Do you see it? There's that shine. Oh yeah. Okay. We're getting it. Doesn't it feel like an old-timey European fireplace? It is a scalloped picture frame from Michael's that I have been wanting a reason to buy forever. It was $1. And then I just carved the air dry clay to be roughly the same shape. And I'm just hoping the wood glue was the right thing to attach it. We'll find out. So that was the doodle prompt from last time. Next thing I always do in one of these videos is we talk about a random baby name. Okay, wait, how did I do it again? It's been a while. I need to figure out 1 through 1,000 because the US popularity charts go 1 to 1,000. I hit the generate button 3 times. Okay, we're gonna be looking at the name at 665th popularity, which that is a realm of total mystery and possibility. And then we need to know what year, and we can do anything. Well, okay, sometimes you can do as early as 1880, but those early years I don't know if they always go up that high. I'm gonna do 1900 to 2023. Generate. 1943. What a nice, fun year. Aesthetically, it wasn't a fun time for humanity speaking. Okay, now I need to know if it's going to be boy or girl. I don't have anything to flip. I'm going to flip my my picture here. So if it lands girl side up, we're going girl. And if it's boy side up, no. You know what I mean. If it's blank, it's boy. Oh wait, we can look at the look at it though before I decide because it's fun to know. 1943 top 1,000. I have no clue. Should I make a random guess? I'm gonna say what feels like a name that would exist but not be common in 1943, or a normal name with an uncommon spelling. I'm going to say Lindsay, which could be there for boy or girl. Lindsay with an E, like at the end. And Marcus. Okay. Oh, okay. The 2 options are for a girl, Sharon, spelled Sharyn. Okay. And boy name is Newton. 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 I don't feel like I've never looked at that one ever before. But which one are we going to chat more about? Ready? I'm gonna it's leaning on my leg. Okay. It is boy side. So Newton like I just said, I don't feel like I've ever come across that name in anytime I've ever been thinking about baby names, I've never actively thought about the name Newton. And now Newton is like Newton's law, which is the gravity? Newton's laws, more than one. Laws of motion are 3 physical laws that describe the relationship between the motion of an object and the forces acting on it. Oh, is this like, okay, Google thinks I'm a genius and wants to explain it to me in big words. The first law of motion, what is it? The law of inertia? Okay, stuff moving. But wasn't Newton his last name though? Yeah, because it's Sir Isaac. Well, what's his deal? So we could say that Newton at spot 665 in 1943 is an early adopter of surname as a first name. And it's one that has not stuck around, I would say. Isaac Newton, he was born on Christmas Day. It's nice. In 1942. And that's interesting because the year we're talking about is no, sorry. He was born in 1642. That's really different. He was born in 1642. In 1642, there were still clans in Scotland. I don't think, I learned from Outlander Jacobites. I had never heard the term Jacobites before, or maybe I have, but I just forgot. But I think the beginning of the end of Scotland's independence with clans happened back in that time period, even though the official end of the clans is considered at the very end of the 1800s, turn of the century into the 1900s. When did Scottish clans end? I literally Googled this last week when I was trying to get my sister the information about which of our ancestors was most closely associated with the clans. So it was already dying by the 18th century. An order had gone out to the Highland chiefs from King William III that they should take an oath of alliance to him before the 1st of January 1692. Okay, 1692. Newton was around then. Interesting. Wonder how he felt. So, Newton's father was also named Isaac Newton, but he died before Isaac Newton, the child, was even born. And he was born prematurely. Oh, wait, I feel like I've heard this story. Born prematurely, Newton was a small child. His mother, Hannah Iascough, reportedly said that he could fit inside a quart mug. Oh no, when Newton was 3, his mother remarried and went to live with her new husband, the Reverend Barnabas Smith, leaving her son in the care of his maternal grandmother, Marjorie Ascough. Newton disliked his stepfather, and maintained some enmity towards his mother for marrying him, as revealed by this entry in a list of sins committed up to the age of 19. Who's keeping track of their sins on a piece of paper? Is that a Catholic thing? Threatening my father and mother Smith to burn them in the house over them. Oh, so Isaac Newton threatened to burn his mother's house down. And we have that in writing. That's really something. Okay, so Newton as a name. Yes or no? What are we feeling? Newton. Is there someone that has a dog named Newton? In a show? Is that someone I know in real life? Why am I connecting Newton to a dog? Is there an episode of Wishbone? Wishbone. Isaac Newton. Newton's apple. Oh, I feel like this is. Wait, is it? Oh no, wait, Newton's Apple is an American educational television program produced and developed by KTCA of Minneapolis, St. Paul. Hey, that's where I live. Why did this come up? I'm not getting firm answers on whether Wishbone the dog has ever acted in a role playing Sir Isaac Newton. That's not information I can find. But what I would like to do now is pivot to look at the overall popularity of the name Newton since 1900 up to now. Like, how long was it around for? Okay, Newton was most popular as a baby name in 1900. So it very much is in the past, and it just slowly declines and declines and declines. It started, I mean, maybe this is a name where if I went back to the 1880 data, it would be even higher. I don't know. I'm not going to bother. But in 1900, it was at spot 293. It stays on the list for the most part till 1957. 1957, it was down at spot 961, and it has not reappeared since. Yeah, it like out of all the surnames as first names, Newton is a challenging one because it does have the word newt, and newt is a salamander type creature. Newton, when there's a middle T, I get confused, so that would be a dissuader for me. Newton, I don't know, it sounds a lot like nude. There are better surnames as first names. Even if you want to go with the theme of exemplary academic scientists from history. Edison, I know someone who has a child named Edison, and they call them Eddie, which I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Most famous scientists from history. Let's see which of them. Who has the best surname as a first name? Isaac Newton came up first on this list. I feel like AI is listening to me. FamousScientists.org/popular. We have alphabetical. I'm going to look at their last names. Archimedes only has one name. Aristotle could have a comeback because Taylor Swift mentioned him. Francis Bacon! Okay. Okay, Alexander Graham Bell. Graham and Bell are legitimate names, so that's good. Blackwell, that's kind of cool. Boyle, Carson, that's fine. Carver, Chadwick. Oh no, is he connected to a building a bomb? Chadwick discovered the neutron and led the British scientists who worked on the Manhattan Project. That's a bad one, right? Was that a bad one? I'm gonna keep going, but I do really like Chadwick. Wait, but then your nickname's Chad. Cousteau, Dalton, that's cool. I do have a problem with the T in the middle, personally for my mouth, but Dalton is a cool name. Darwin, we know him. Drake, sure. Einstein, I'm not a fan. Fisher, Fleming. Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. That's a good name. Galileo, Germain, Gibbs, Goodall, Hertz, Hilbert, Hopper. I'm looking for one that's like unique. I don't want to just settle with, like, someone on here is going to have like a really normal name, and I don't want that. Hutton, that's like Sutton. Kepler, no. Leavitt, her name is Henrietta. I like that. Lovelace, Linnaeus, Maxwell. That's an example where James Clerk Maxwell is someone who, something with electromagnetics. Maxwell, that's so normal that it feels like a cop-out for me to choose that as the best historic academic surname as a first name. That's a cop-out. It's too easy. McClintock, that's cool sounding. Mendel, Mosley. Mosley. You know what? I should be writing down which ones I think are admirable. Chadwick, I'm redacting because it begins with Chad. Newton Nightingale. That's gorgeous. It's like not right for a first name, but like Florence Nightingale, she really popped off with that full name. Florence Nightingale. Florence Nightingale. That's stunning. Noble. That name has come up before. Pauling. Plank. Ptolemy. Ramen. No. Rutherford. Schwan. Shoemaker. I am charmed by any time I hear the last name Shoemaker. This is specifically Gene Shoemaker, who was the first astrologist and a founder of planetary impact science. Shoemaker, I think, is just the most quaint, like, okay, if you're living a cottagecore fantasy, your uncle would have the last name Shoemaker. Does that make sense? Skinner. No, I don't want that one. Volta. Kind of cool. Watt. Oh, did he make Watts? I should not. I shouldn't keep a running commentary on things I don't know about. Okay, I think I went through all of the ones on famousscientist.org/popular. Carver. I still do like Carver. You're going to have 3 strapping young sons. They're very handsome and very smart. They are a triple threat, kind, smart, and handsome. Their names are going to be Dalton, Carver, and Moseley. Those are all 3 of the most famous scientists from history. And I think that's really solid. Dalton, Carver, and Moseley. I think I specifically made Moseley the youngest one because I think it's just like the default baby of the family. So you just say Mosey. Mosey, that's really cute. I know Moses is a name that's like right there for the taking, but Moseley feels so immensely different than Moses. What is the origin of Moseley though? Baby name meaning. Moseley. Oh, it means peat bog or mouse clearing. Peat bog, that's like a not great thing. Yeah, it's just like the dense wetlands filled with partially decayed vegetation. That's like where they keep finding like perfectly preserved bodies. So I can't say Moseley has a great name origin, but if you're a scientist, you would love a peat bog. Absolutely. You would be absolutely fascinated with what they hold biologically, telling us about the past and yet maybe also the future. So yeah, Newton, I'm fine that it's not happening. It makes me think of, I knew someone in high school named, first name Kelvin. I think Newton and Kelvin would be academic siblings, but they would lack the like handsome part. Now the thing I've been wanting to do is chat while crafting. Oh, I think I forgot one thing. One second. I need a cutting board because I don't want to get all the crafty gunk on the coffee table because the coffee table has little cracks in it, you know, like because it's planks of wood. And I just know it's going to get stuck in there. Okay. I'm back. Should I take my hair out? You know what? Yeah, at this point, let's do it. There are a few little gator clips in there for the ones that felt like a little more floppy. I think there's only 2 or maybe 3. No, that feels right. Okay, let's not laugh if it looks silly because usually right away it is a little bit like 80s newscaster. But my hair is so bad at holding any volume or styling that you just give it like 10 minutes and it goes down to looking Perhaps I would describe it as Kit the American Girl doll, which I'm totally happy with. By the way, I think I'm going to an American Girl doll themed drag dinner. I'm not even going to say anything else. I think that's the perfect amount of information to give you. Okay. It's not going to have Kirsten though. And I'm a little bit bummed about that. Like, how could you have a drag themed brunch in Minnesota and not have Kirsten? It leaves me no choice but to dress up as Kirsten myself. But I don't want to, what's the word? Overshadow. So I want to do like a Kirsten, like Disney bounding, but Kirsten bounding, you know? Kirsten cosplay light. Yeah, see? And today, murders on the Housatonic. Okay. That's fine. Okay, so remember this little gem thing I was showing before? When I was in that gem shop with Ida, the tarot medium, there was a worry stone. And my friend said, oh yeah, it's like that. There's a perfect little groove in it for your thumb. And she said that when she was pregnant, she had bad anxiety. And so she always kept one in her pocket when she was working. And she would just rub it all day. So imagine like kind of this shape, but then a dip, perfectly thumbprint size. You just rub it. I love that because I love to fiddle with things. So I got one and it's somewhere in this house. I have no idea where. It comes up, I feel like my little yellow worry stone likes to show up like once every 3 to 5 business days, sticks around for 20 minutes and then is lost again. I cannot keep track of it. Like I'll put it in my pocket and then I don't know. It is the most perfect item to lose. So I thought because I did these, I was like, wait, I'll just make a few. Like, what if I make like a little bowl of them so that anytime I have just a sample, a nice little smattering of those little worry stones. Now, it won't be perfectly as smooth, but I can make them with air dry clay and just like make as many as I want. And so you have to let them, I think the air dry clay, you make something and it takes, they say 24 hours to dry or 2 to 3 days actually, depending on the size and thickness. And then I could like paint a little design on it and then you use the little gloss glaze over the top to give it that shiny look. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna make some like basically ovals with like a little thumb dent in it, right? So that's the plan. I'm gonna do that while we chat. The topic is that I went on a girls' trip to my sister's house, which I don't know if you can call that a girls' trip if you're just going to your sister's house, but her husband was out of town, so it was just the two of us. And it was so fun in a very specific way that I have thought about it so often over the last few months since our trip, because I feel like there is a somewhat narrow view of what a girls' trip entails. Along the same lines as, how big do I want? I'm going to make this smaller. Along the same lines as a bachelorette party, which then along the same lines as a wedding, where I feel like, especially with social media, there's such an expectation of what it looks like and what you do and what is fun. And more than anything, I so much believe that you screw all of that and do whatever sounds fun to you. If I could redo our wedding now, it would be night and day difference. I don't like being in big crowds. Why would I invite people? That doesn't make any sense at all. So a girls' trip, or like a bachelorette party, it's always like a pretty good sized group, and there's like going out and dressing up and just like, I don't know, lots of loud excursions, and it looks like they're having a great time. That's fantastic. That is not my ideal. Okay, I'm going to just lay out what we did. And if you think this sounds fun, you are probably like our third missing sister. Day 1, we went to the American Tort Law Museum. It's in northern central Connecticut. The Tort Law Museum we were interested in because we both passionately listened to the You're Wrong About podcast, and they did an episode about the flaming Ford Pinto, and they also did an episode on the McDonald's hot coffee case, and those are both examples of tort law in action, and my sister just happens to live in the vicinity of northern central Connecticut, where there is the one and only American Tort Law Museum. To prepare to go to the Tort Law Museum, I re-listened to those 2 episodes of the show and took notes. I literally have them, I have them right here. And where did we go on our way to the Tort Law Museum? We went to McDonald's and I got a hot coffee. To give you a summary of the McDonald's hot coffee case, is that everyone made a really big deal that McDonald's was being sued because a woman accidentally dropped their hot coffee on her lap, and they were getting sued because of her injuries. So the media ran with this and made so much fun of her. And when you actually learn about the circumstances, you are completely on her side. I'm not going to tell you it all because like that's already a whole other podcast. I don't need to be that podcast. I will recommend that podcast to you. I'll link it below. You will be absolutely on her side. It is heartbreaking what she went through and like totally uncalled for, and just capitalism is bad. American healthcare is bad. But to take a McDonald's hot coffee to the Tort Law Museum, powerful. I would assume it's the same as if you go to New Zealand and listen to the Lord of the Rings soundtrack as you're hiking. I'm assuming it's that same feeling. I don't know what I'm doing as I'm making this. Yeah, I'm just like should I use my thumb so it's like the same? Oh yeah. Okay, that's very good. I have a little dish of water because I find that putting a little bit of water on my finger makes it even smoother. Like if it starts to get cracks and stuff. Tort Law Museum was so fun. It's very small. The staff was so kind. We were the youngest people there by far. It was kind of hustling and bustling when we arrived because there was a retirement home on a field trip there. But after a while, it was really just us. We got to learn so much about Ralph Nader, who made the whole museum happen. Here's a brag coming. We knew about most of the cases going in because that's the kind of podcast we listen to. But there was one significant tort law case that we had not heard of, and that was about a flaming rat. It was essentially Imagine like factory setting where there's fire, I don't know, coal, heat, fire involved, and there's gasoline involved. You can see where this is going. There's a rat. The rat accidentally got soaked in gasoline. You see where this is going? And then ran back into the fiery area. And there was a huge explosion and a guy died. Tort law comes in to figure out who is liable. The most important thing is that there were illustrations of the rat running in flames. And the most important thing of all is that, in the words of the court, the rat, now here is the quote from the court. The rat attempted to seek sanctuary beneath the heater, where it overexposed itself and its impregnated coat, and returned in haste and in flames to its original hideout. End quote, which was the machine that Mr. Daniels had drenched in gasoline. We're going to go through this again. That quote. Ready? The rat attempted to seek sanctuary beneath the heater, where it overexposed itself and its impregnated coat, and returned in haste and in flames to its original hideout. We read this and were crying. I don't know if it's going to feel funny at all for anyone watching this, but there is just such flawless wording to every single part of that quote. Okay, it attempted to seek sanctuary beneath the heater. Fine, that makes sense. The rat went under the heater. Where it overexposed itself. This is where it's like, interesting. Where it overexposed itself. Right away, I'm thinking nudist. I'm thinking, flasher. I'm thinking pedo. And then right from there, we jump into the adjective. It overexposed itself and its impregnated coat. Impregnated coat. Why couldn't you just say that its fur was wet with gasoline? I don't know why they had to have the word overexposed and impregnated so close together when they're talking about a rat with gasoline on it. And returned. So it's saying, okay, wet, oily rat is coming back. Fine. This is where we absolutely lost it. In haste and in flames. In haste and in flames. Make that a band. Tell Taylor Swift. Get that in her next album. I'm considering it as a tattoo. I want it on a t-shirt. In haste and in flames is so undescribably good. In the words of the court, the rat attempted to seek sanctuary beneath the heater where it's wait. If I mess up, I have to start over. In the words of the court, the rat attempted to seek sanctuary beneath the heater where it overexposed itself and its impregnated coat and returned in haste and in flames to its original hideout, which was the machine that Mr. Daniels had drenched in gasoline. In haste and in flames. Obsessed. It's so good. Like, we were just learning about the US government made it so kids can't play with BB guns. Oh, this car's engine wasn't made right. And then we're reading about rats impregnated coats in Haste and in Flames. It's just, I haven't stopped thinking about it. It's really lodged itself in a place in my brain for the rest of time. Now, what else did we do? I wrote down all the fun things we did on this girls trip. That was literally just day one, morning one. We went to the American Museum of Torch shop. We went to the gift shop and got these really amazing shirts with the Flaming Ford Pinto. I'm going to put a picture in right here. Flaming Ford Pinto, yeah, it's one of the most well-known tort law cases. There is a podcast episode about it. All information aside, isn't this the best t-shirt design you've ever seen? Like, this feels like Urban Outfitters. This feels like Zara. I got it in a long sleeve, and it is genuinely the softest shirt I have ever touched. The staff was so nice, and just, I think they just really loved that we loved being there. She gave us 2 free copies of the Constitution. Now, okay, what else did we do? We went to a cute girly shop that had Taylor Swift merch. Oh yeah, that was really fun. I got a sweatshirt that says Getaway Car, and the picture is of Taylor and Travis in his convertible. It's really good. We went to a diner. We got breakfast for lunch at just like a generic New England diner. I got a milkshake to go that had, I love birthday cake ice cream. It is my most favorite flavor of ice cream of all time. And I feel like, now that looks like a really good thumb thing, but I don't know how to get it off of here. I feel like I should use a piece of floss, but I don't want to touch it. I think I'm just going to wait till it dries and then like pop it off and then like sand the bottom. Okay, well, I'm going to make another one. Okay. I got a milkshake to go with their birthday cake ice cream flavor. And the milkshake had more sprinkles than I thought were ever possible to put in a milkshake. Imagine, like with boba, at least for me, I always feel like I've miscalculated how many sips of the boba I should ration out, and by the time I get to the end, I'm really sad because there's no more boba. This was the opposite, where it was almost as if it was sprinkles that had a little bit of milkshake mixed in, rather than milkshake with sprinkles mixed in. It was remarkable. It was powerful. I've never consumed a more crunchy milkshake before. Would I do it again? I don't know. That's the thing. I'm like, was that good? Was that the best thing ever? Or was that too far? I haven't figured it out yet. What else did we do? Oh yeah, we went to a little gem store just for fun, because like every main street in a cute small town has a weird gem shop. I just feel like it's our duty to visit. We then went to the used bookstore. The used bookstore, yes. Okay, it's a used bookstore that used to be a shoe store. And they kept the name, so it's Howard's. Howard's was a shoe store for like ages in this cute little main street in central northern Connecticut. And then it was closed and then reopened as a bookstore. And the fun thing is that there's still old-timey shoes all over the place. You go in, it's like the nice like showroom, like the main area of a shoe store. And then we talked to the guy there who owns it, who's confusingly, obviously his name is not Howard. Howard was the original owner. And he said, oh yeah, go back there. There's more books back there. Think of at a shoe store, when they have the section in the back, because you ask like, sorry, do you have this in a 7? And they're like, yeah, let me go check the back. Have you ever been in the back? I had not. But those like narrow back hallway areas where shoe boxes would typically be, are now full of like classic American literature with absolutely no organization whatsoever. It was like going through a maze, and it was fascinating. We loved it. I found a book about the history of early American prostitution in the West. I bought it. I'm very excited. And the Wild West, sorry, specifically the Wild West. At one point, I had to go find the bathroom, and that was a whole journey of itself because it was upstairs, down a hallway, around a turn, down another hallway, going past like a ton of abandoned rooms and offices with just like random clutter and antiques. And my sister comes and finds me and she says, "Hey, not Howard said we can go upstairs. There used to be a bowling alley." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "He told me that we could go past the no trespassing sign and go up to the 3rd floor. It'll be dark in the stairwell, but the lights will turn on automatically." I still have no idea what's going on, but I listened to her. We go find the door that says like, was it no trespassing? It basically strongly implied, don't enter here. We entered. There was a terrifying stairwell. The light did turn on. Graffiti, cement, just like a, you know how like you could be in like a really nice building, but then if you want to use the stairs rather than the elevator, you're like, oh, never mind. This building, yeah, it's nice now. It wasn't always nice because these stairs are telling a different story. It was kind of like that. So we go upstairs, and it is a labyrinth of abandoned rooms, old creaky floors, wallpaper peeling off, random clothes hangers and bowling pins and old-timey desks with inkwells and wooden ladders and stacks of books and a drum set and a Christmas tree. And being up there on the 3rd floor of Howard's bookstore truly felt like we had entered another dimension. It was that thing where it was completely silent, not a single sound, nothing was moving. And it was as if time did not exist. There was nothing in that room that told you that it was 2024. It was void of time itself. And we went around absolutely baffled and curious and scared, all at the same time. We found tiny doors leading to even tinier rooms. We asked ourselves, are we going to get murdered? There was a very old, okay, this one needs to just start over. There was a very old ladder leading up into a darkened attic. There was an old desk. Oh, I hope you can't hear that. That sound. Okay, I'm going to hold it away from the microphone. There was some random pieces of paper with anime sketches. There was poetry written. There was all manner of mystery up there. It felt actually like we were in Nancy Drew. When I say Nancy Drew, sure, I could be talking about the book, but let's be real. I'm talking about the CD-ROM game. It felt exactly like that. It was incredible. So yeah, that was mystifying beyond all belief. And then afterwards, before we went back to the car, we decided to walk through an old cemetery. Why not cater your girls' trip to what you enjoy? There are other girls in my life that I love them so much, but they would never in a million years be down to walk through an old cemetery, spur of the moment. You know? Different friendships bring different things, and you need a friend or sister that would go to an abandoned cemetery, not an abandoned cemetery, would go to an abandoned 3rd floor with an antique bowling alley above a shoe store turned into a bookstore, followed by meandering through an old cemetery. That night we played video games. I played The Sims. She played, I call it her cowboy game. Here's the thing, because I'm married with children, I don't play video games. I haven't played video games or computer games since I left for college. That just didn't happen. And I miss them in a way that tells me it's good that I'm not playing them, because I would be addicted. Because when I look back in high school, oh yeah, I was addicted to playing The Sims. So I have long dreamed of going to my sister's and playing her video games. Her cowboy game is called Red Dead Redemption 2. It's like a new game. There's like violent stuff you can do, but you can also just like wander around the beautiful American historic countryside. You guys, I had no idea how advanced video game technology had gotten as far as visual graphics. I had no clue how good they could make it look. I was in awe of like the quality of light and the shadows and like the atmospheric perspective and like every individual blade of grass, and like it would be golden hour and just like everything was illuminated by the sunlight, all backlit, and then it would be dusk and it would be all blue, and then the sunrise, and just like it wasn't playing a game, it was like playing in a movie. Not just a movie, but like that show with Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, that's like the precursor to Yellowstone. Now, I was playing The Sims, and I did make a really specific cult dynamic. I had thought about this for months before visiting my sister. I knew that I was going to make a cult. Now, when I say that, I'm really just playing The Sims. Like, I'm just like building houses and making people and making them live their lives. It's the backstory is all in the head. So what I wanted to do was make a dynamic of people, a very ugly man. And then there was another very ugly man in the household. And then there were two sisters who were very beautiful. And they all lived on like a cult-like compound. And the goal was that each of them would have a child they would switch partners. And it would be a battle to see which pairing would make the more beautiful child. So I made these men truly something that God wouldn't allow as far as their looks. And then the women were like fairies. They were gorgeous. They each have a child, and then they switch partners. And they have two more children, and then I use the age, like the age hack in The Sims. This was Sims 3, by the way. And so I make all the children grow up into teenagers or maybe even adult. And one winner is chosen, the most beautiful child. Now that child is now given permission from Father Cult to start their own cult. So he goes off on his own, because I think it was a boy who was the most beautiful child of the bunch. He goes off on his own land, and he is given two beautiful, identical sisters, twins, again, just like his mom had been. Beautiful twin sisters, and now they are a cult. And he looked at what his father had done. They all had like their own quarters. He was like, no, families need to be together. So he sets his cult up, his compound up differently, so that they actually all share a living and dining space. There's just separate bedrooms. Cody from Sister Wives went through this as well. Did they all start in the same house and then separated? This is the opposite. They were all separate, and now in this Cult 2.0, they're all together. for the most part. Now, he has a child with each of them. And then I make them grow up. And the most beautiful one is the winner. It's a girl. And now she is given permission to go off on her own land and make her cult. Unfortunately, at this point, this is where my visit with my sister ran out, but I have it all planned out in my head what I would do next. This is now, at this point, the third generation of beauty cult society in my gameplay. And she would have been so aware of the trauma related to that upbringing that she would say, no, Dad, I'm not going to be a polygamist. I'm going to have a monogamous relationship. I don't care what you say. I don't care what our cult has done in the past. And her dad is kind of like a mafia vibe at this point. And he says, fine, but you have to have more than one child because there needs to be a competition of ranking who's the most beautiful. That's like our whole point. The whole point of our cult is to make a beautiful child and have a winner. And she says, yes, I promise I'll have more than one child. I only want to have one partner. So I'm going to have more than one child with one partner, and then you can judge which one's the most beautiful. And he says, okay, fine, but I get to choose your partner. And he's going to go out and find the most grotesque, ugly old man he can. And he's going to come to his daughter and be like, I found your life partner. His name is Greg. And she's going to, at first, resent Greg. They're going to live in separate cabins on a large plot of land, but slowly over time become friends through working in the garden together. And then eventually they'll be happy, and they will have 2 children. And I don't know what happens after that, because this is all stuff that I've just made up in my head. Okay. Also on my trip with my sister, the Tortured Poets Department album came out, which was actually the whole point of the timing that we chose this trip. Tortured Poets came out. It was at midnight because we were on the East Coast. And then we woke up the next morning so tired, and the second part had dropped. And so we just stared at the wall and listened to them, just let the music wash over us, which was really fun. My top favorite song has been unchanged since my very first listen. I feel like a lot of Taylor Swift music is, it's like wine and cheese. The older, the more, you gotta let it age, and it just gets better and better. But this album, actually the ones I have written down as my initial favorites, I would say are still my tops. Down Bad. Down Bad was my favorite initially, and it's still my favorite now, which brings me to another topic of this girl's trip, which is that the first night I arrived, this is prior to Tort Law Museum, my sister was hemming a pair of overalls for me, which was very nice because they were too long, even though I bought them in the petite length. And while she was hemming them, it was like, well, let's put on something to watch. Just like have something on in the background. For some reason, we were talking, because we talked about going, she lives near the Thomas Reed UFO Park in Massachusetts, relatively near there. And I had been saying like, ooh, I want to go. So when she was like, well, let's just put on something while I hem, I said, let's rewatch the Unsolved Mysteries reboot episode about Tom Reed in the Berkshires, Massachusetts, covered bridge, UFO sighting / off-world encounter. Fact here, the people in this town do not like to use the word alien abduction. They absolutely want you to say it is an off-world encounter. So we rewatched that episode and we're like, fun, we should go there. Like, maybe we'll go tomorrow. Fast forward 24 hours later, we were listening to Taylor Swift's album for the first time. We get to Down Bad, which is what, like track 3 or 4? And we immediately go, is this an alien abduction metaphor? Absolutely it was. You know, so sometimes Taylor Swift will jump around to different metaphors. Sometimes there's a metaphor in just like one line or just like one part of a line. No, Down Bad is entirely an alien abduction metaphor from beginning to end, which just felt so wild at that moment because we're like, we were just talking about aliens. We were just talking about abductions. We were just on this topic like really heavily. And now there's a whole song about it and it's an absolute bop. So within 12 hours of Down Bad coming out, we were at the UFO park, standing on the covered bridge, which is the scene of the event, playing the song Down Bad and dancing to it, which I feel is a one-of-a-kind experience in the realm of Swifthood. Do you think there are any other Taylor Swift fans that within 12 hours of hearing Down Bad were able to play that song out loud at a site of a known alien abduction off-world encounter? I haven't met any yet. So that felt sacred. The main guy from that story, if you watch The Unsolved Mysteries, is Tom Reed. And while we were there at the park, we got talking to a woman walking her dog, and she was one of the locals, and she's friends with Tom. She's the same age as Tom. She's like, oh yeah, Tom and I. Like, we've been in the same grade. Like, we were in the same grade, like, all growing up. And then she was messaging him on Facebook while we were talking to her, and he was responding back. And it just, like, felt really surreal. And she said that everyone in that town, whether they admit it or not, have had some sort of experience with the supernatural. And I believe her. The unique thing about Tom Reed and the UFO park is that it's one of the only experiences with an alien abduction that a U.S. government entity has officially come on the record to say, yes, this is a true and real event that happened. Now, there is a specific reason for that here, and that is that Tom Reed and his family and several other families that had experiences that night were horribly bullied and ostracized from their community for decades. Like, it ruined his life. And it didn't ruin his life because he was abducted by aliens. It ruined his life because of the way people treated him afterwards, because they didn't believe him. And he was a child. We're talking like he was, I think, 10 years old. And his whole life, he was ostracized for this thing that he had no control over. And so all these years later, there is now a plaque at the park from the governor of Massachusetts, where it was like a really big deal. They're like, no. The governor themselves needs to sign it. And it was essentially a peace offering, you could say, to Tom, to validate his experiences and as an apology and to make amends for all the terrible ways he and his family were treated by the community. And this plaque is worded in such a way that I feel like Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote it for Hamilton. I and my sister read it at this park, and then we read it again in the cadence of George Washington talking at the beginning of the song One Last Time in Hamilton, which is my favorite song in the whole production. I've only seen the Disney film version of Hamilton. George is my favorite. George Washington is my favorite. The other George is also fantastic. That song, I could belt it every single day. I've belted that song, like blasted it in the car, singing along in Valley Forge, spiritual. But here, I'm going to read what the plaque says at the UFO park. Thomas E. Reed. This is written, like signed, the governor and lieutenant governor. It has like the little seal of Massachusetts. On behalf of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I am pleased to confer upon you this governor's citation in recognition of the off-world incident on September 1st, 1969, which engaged the Reed family, which has been established. Your dedicated service to the incident was factually upheld, founded and deemed historically significant and true by means of Massachusetts historians. The records highlighting the historic event are now officially part of the Great Barrington, Massachusetts Historical Society's collection and your recent induction into Massachusetts history. This 3rd day of November in the year 2015. Signed, Charles D. Baker and Karen E. Polito. Like, they're like, no, like, we swear on the blood of every Massachusetts citizen that this how do they say it? Did they say off-world? This off-world incident is true. Now, I do think part of the reason is because it was a peace offering to the Reed family who had suffered so much by the hands of the citizens, but regardless, they're saying a UFO happened. Like like it is the government saying, yeah. And that feels really big. And we went there. Did you get a sense of that it feels like you could read it like the way George Washington speaks at the beginning of One Last Time? Oh, I wish my sister was here. She does it better. On behalf of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I am pleased to confer upon you this governor's citation in recognition of the off-world incident on September 1st, 1969, which engaged the Reed family, which has been established. Your dedicated service to the incident was factually upheld. No. That felt like it was going a little bit Martin Luther King. Was factually upheld, founded, and deemed historically significant and true by means of Massachusetts historians. How does the song go? It's Massachusetts historians. The records highlighting the historic events are now officially part of the Great Barrington, Massachusetts Historical Society's collection and your recent induction into Massachusetts history this 3rd day of November in the year 2015. And then the instrumentals pick in. That wasn't perfect, but I hope it gives you a decent idea of how it felt to do that in person, in front of the real thing. When I'm on Instagram and I see pictures of girls' trips where it's like margaritas on Key West, we're not the same. That sounds great. Like that, sure. Like I do not doubt that they had a fun time. But like I cannot emphasize how fun this random stuff was. Now, okay. We also went to a Civil War site, which was, just like a monument. New England monuments always slap hard, even if you don't totally understand their significance. But here's the one thing I will mention from going to the Civil War site together. There was a poster there for an event that had already passed. That's okay. Sometimes it's hard to remember how many signs you've put up and where you've put them. Saturday, October 14th, 2023, from 1 to 3 p.m. This is a poster for an event being held at the local cemetery. It says this: costumed interpreters representing residents from the past will await you at their gravestones, where they will tell you about their lives and the rich history of town and town, the two towns that are in this area. $5 per person. Children 16 and under are free. This is an event that happened October 14th, so we're talking 2 weeks before Halloween, from 1 to 3 p.m. That's, it's not spooky. Costumed interpreters will await you at their gravestones, where they will tell you about their lives and the rich history of the town. How do I get this in my town? I don't want to attend. I want to be one of the costumed interpreters. Not to brag, but I think I would do a good job. I think I would go full throttle on the costume. And I do like talking about history. I just would feel nervous if they wanted to ask any follow-up questions that were like off script. Oh man. So that was fantastic. Did we do anything else? We saw a bear. We went on a little scenic drive and we saw a bear. There's a bear sitting in someone's backyard, just like hanging out. Not like a pet, like a bear. For dinner, we had chicken pot pie from the microwave. It was incredible. Played more Sims. Because that generational cult thing, that took multiple nights of my work because I had to build the house and everything. And then we watched Fried Green Tomatoes because that's one of my sister's favorite movies, but it's the only one of her favorite movies that I had never seen, which is really rare. And I loved it. Now, she did very early on turn to me and say, "Does this feel a little bit gay to you?" And so, yes, it absolutely did. Turns out the book that it's based on was full throttle gay, but then when they turned it into a film, because it was the early 2000s, of course they kind of scrubbed the gay out of it and just made it about meaningful female friendship. But because my very first watch was in the context of, does this feel a little bit gay? It felt very gay. And it was beautifully told. It was beautifully told. What came first though? Fried Green Tomatoes or Goodbye Earl by the Chicks? Because they are very much of the same nature, and I love that. We went to McDonald's twice on this 3-day visit. Excellent. We had a crochet lesson. She taught me how to crochet, and she said I was an A student. She said out of anyone she's tried to teach crochet, I was the most proficient, and that felt really good. We did a photo shoot, which I had posted about that on social media, where we called it the Taylor Swift Femme Fatale Nancy Alien Drew Swift Ghost-inspired shoot. And we went back to Howard's bookshop and asked, "Hey, not Howard, can we go back up to the 3rd floor?" And we were like, "Do you remember us? We were here yesterday." Guess what? We arrived, and he was like, "Oh, you girls are back. Here. I have something for you." Mind you, when we arrived, he was outside of his shop, trimming the hedges. He's a one-man show. He runs into the shop, comes back out. He has a vintage copy of a Nancy Drew novel. He said, "Here, I want you to have this." Is that so nice? So he gave us a Nancy Drew novel, and then we asked him, "Can we go back upstairs?" And he was like, "Oh, absolutely." So we went and took pictures upstairs. I made sure that the second I finished those pictures, I sent them to Howard's bookshop. It was the most gorgeous scenery possible for this old-timey photo shoot, which, by the way, the dress my sister wore is one that my grandpa just gave her. He one day called her up and was like, I have an old dress to give you. I think it's from the 1940s. And my sister said, okay. And he gave her this box of a perfectly preserved, maybe never worn dress from the 1940s from a friend of a friend. And it fit her perfectly. It needed no alterations, exactly spot on, perfect fit. We turned that into this photo shoot. We also went to the old-timey theater. What's the thing in front of an old-timey theater that glows with the light bulbs and you have the movable letters? That thing, there was one of them across the street from Howard's bookshop. And it just happened to have the words Ancient Aliens on it. There was some sort of live show at the theater with Ancient Aliens. And we were like, holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. How is everything connecting to Taylor Swift, Nancy Drew, and aliens and ghosts right now? What in the supernatural is happening? It was perfect. So we took pictures with the Ancient Alien sign and in the spooky 3rd floor bookshop where time does not exist. And I think I talked about this in my Aspen Ovard video, how I used to do photography full time, got really burnt out, anxiety, motherhood, just lots of things led me to shut it down. And this photo shoot I did with my sister was one of the very first things in a long time where I just did it for fun. And I had so much fun. We just did things creatively. I tried some different techniques that I hadn't done before. And we shot like inside in some dark corridors. I'm going to put a picture here of one of those dark corridors. Dark corridor, and I used I had a piece of like antique silk fabric over my lens to make it look more like hazy and muted. And then I used a low shutter speed, so it's like a little bit blurry, which are just things that I had not done in my like professional portrait work. And I was like soaking in its goodness. It was like drinking a discontinued McDonald's Coke Zero. They don't serve those anymore. That's how good those pictures tasted to me, like a discontinued McDonald's drink. So that was just like really enriching and enlivening and soul fulfilling. And then on the last night I was there, my sister has 2 dogs, and on last night, the one dog was just like so happy with my presence that the dog chose to sleep with me. So I slept on the couch with the little warm dog on my legs. And my goodness, if there's anything better than that, don't tell me. Because as far as I know, that is the best thing that life has to offer. So at the end of, I think this is the end. I feel like I'm wrapping up. It's organically happening. I hope there's something coherent in here. I feel like I'm kind of in like time doesn't exist. Like I'm at Howard's right now. I don't know how much time has passed, and I don't know what I've said. But I always end the doodle prompt with a doodle with a doodle prompt. What have I even... Let's see. Okay. Oh, the whole point of the doodle prompt is that I am always trying to encourage myself to do craft projects and be off of my screens, just get away from social media as much as I can, because I always know I feel better afterwards. So a doodle prompt is an idea for you for something to just like try sketching it, try painting it, try making a picture on your iPad if you want, or on paper. Just do something with your brain and your hands. It just feels good. So let's see. Your doodle prompt is to draw a costumed interpreter representing a resident from the past who's awaiting you at their gravestone, where they will tell you about their lives and the rich history of their area. That sounds fun. Okay, so yeah, some sort of historical ghost from your area or an area you're interested in visiting. What old-timey cemetery would you like to visit and be greeted by a tour guide ghost? Is really the question at hand. That sounds really fun. I'm excited to think about this. Yeah, I think that's everything. I hope you had a great time here, and hopefully I'll be back with more in-depth researched something or other sometime soon. But until then, bye!